Howdy! Welcome to a special feature with Rebuilding Hollers, come hell or high waters. My name is Stephanie Johnson, and I will be your host for the evening. I am so excited that you are here. We have a phenomenal guest with us today. My friend Max has done incredible things helping my projects, and I am so excited to introduce you to him. But first, I would like to say thank you so much for following along. Thank you for joining Rebuilding Hollers in our commitment to rebuild Yancey and Mitchell Counties here in Western North Carolina. Without further ado, I would like to introduce y'all to my friend Max Gibbons from Pisgah Legal Services. Thank you for joining us, Max.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. So we got to spend a lot of time together lately, and we actually had a legal event here at Rebuilding Hollers a month or two ago. And then one day we were talking, and we have a project in common. So one of my projects is one of your clients. And it really opened my eyes to how powerful and how needed it is for legal services for our community, how desperately they need help. And so I was so excited that you would come on today because I wanted our community to know that what is available to them. So Pisgah Legal Service is a free legal service right here in Yancey County for Yancey and Mitchell. I guess you probably cover all counties.
Mm-hmm.
So we're real excited about that. And so would you tell us a little bit about how this works? How does it start? How do they just come say, help me?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here.
One of the weird things about this storm tragedy that we faced is the upside of working even closer with other community organizations. And you make the point that legal services are important, but your organization is important, and the food bank is important.
Yes.
And all the folks working together, and that's how people get help in this country, is through a kind of a patchwork system, which can be hard to navigate.
Yes.
But if we're able to work together, people can find this need met here and this need met here, and they can get back on their feet.
That's exactly right.
So I'm very happy to be here because of the amazing work you've been doing.
Thank you.
So not surprisingly, as with most people in the area, and Pisgah Legal does cover the 18 westernmost counties in North Carolina.
Okay.
So Yancey and Mitchell
Awesome.
Included, up to Avery and over to Burke on this side of our service area. And we faced a real adjustment period, as everyone did,
right.
Both in their personal lives and their professional lives, running small businesses, figuring out what to do with kids when there's no running water and no school.
Right.
And one of the things we had to adjust to organizationally is that one of the biggest needs that popped up were things that we had never done in the past.
Right.
And that wasn't at a time where our traditional practice areas went away. In fact, obviously last October, immediate housing needs was the most critical for folks. Winter was coming on, getting some sort of stable housing. And so our housing team didn't have time to drop everything and say, let's start doing FEMA work or insurance work.
Right.
There were a lot of questions about what are my rights as a tenant if my home is damaged? What are my rights to rent abatement? What risk am I taking, which is a large risk if you try to self-help without speaking to an attorney about what your rights may be.
Right.
So organizationally, we had to shift into meeting the new needs without neglecting the old needs.
Right.
And the major new needs were FEMA help, other patchwork help. Now Renew NC is the new program that I think may be helpful for a lot of folks.
Yes.
Back then, immediately it was FEMA. Insurance claims lag FEMA a little bit because insurance companies are slow moving by design, and we can talk more about that. But those are the major new practice areas, and just trying to get people analyze their situation, hear the resources that may be available, Do you need some help getting your birth certificate for your Renew NC application? Do you need help proving that this is actually your home, whether through a deed or a DMV title for a manufactured home? Just navigating those systems and figuring out what folks need to do, because you're even closer to boots on the ground than I am, Stephanie. So you know how resilient people are and how capable they are of doing things, but they don't necessarily know what they can even do.
Right.
And so that's what we've tried to, with your help, with other groups' help, just kind of put people on a path.
Right.
Most people can get their own birth certificate, but they don't know they need their own birth certificate, or they don't necessarily have the time to figure out where you go to get your birth certificate. Can you do it online? Do you have to go in person? So it's a lot of navigating systems where legal issues are kind of mixed up in there, but 80% of it is system navigation.
Right. Well, and the birth certificate is a perfect example because people lost everything.
Exactly.
Their home is gone. Their cars are gone. Their license is gone. Their birth certificate is gone. Their credit card is gone. Everything is gone. So how do you prove who you are with nothing? And that was a battle in the beginning. That people really fought with that. That is an excellent point. I completely forgot the nightmare of that for a while.
And it's exactly right. And it's what we were told. Not surprisingly, we had plenty of people reach out to us from across the country to help, because they knew we had never faced anything like this in Western North Carolina. We had had some minor flood type events like Floyd a few years ago, but this was the first catastrophic hurricane tropical storm that we had ever faced. And nobody thought that we would.
Right.
So we had folks obviously from the eastern part of this state, but also from Puerto Rico and from South Texas, where they're more likely to face that, really quickly start doing training so that we could be oriented. But one of the things that they said to us, which is not surprising, but was good to hear from folks who had gone through it before, is the waves of issues. Right. At the very beginning, you just need to find housing.
Right.
You need to make sure your kids are safe. Pretty shortly thereafter, you're looking for some sort of assistance, which we've all paid taxes into, so it is something that people ought to take advantage of from FEMA, just so that you can bridge the gap, so that you can pay for groceries, so that you can pay for your kids' supplies. Then some people have insurance that may lag that a little bit. Document replacement actually lags even further, because of course nobody on October 3rd was thinking, oh my God, I lost my will. Right. They're thinking, where am I going to sleep tonight? If they lost their will. I was one of the lucky ones that didn't lose my stuff, but then I had a place to sleep. Right. If you lost all your belongings, then the first thing is to stabilize your health and safety and housing. And yeah, document replacement is something we expect to see a lot of. And you, Rebuilding Hollers, and all of you folks up here fit into some of those waves. Yes. Like right now, we're 11 months. It's kind of hard to believe that it's been 11 months. But you're fitting in the let's rebuild people's houses and get them back so that 8 years from now, they can look back and say, that was a real bummer. Yeah. But I survived it, and I'm stronger because of it. That's right.
Well, so, I met so many people early on that had came from other places, like you had mentioned, and they were telling me over and over what the process looked like and how hard it was to get home, and how what I kept hearing resoundingly was that catastrophic disasters like this change people's lives, not for the good. They weren't recovering. They were still having all of these issues years and years later. And I just kept thinking, not my community, not my people. We're not doing that. We got to figure out a better way. I don't want this to define, one of my neighbor's lives in a bad way. That has kind of been my drive behind it. But yeah, it's incredible, the waves and the different things. And so let's start with FEMA, because that has been a big deal for so many. The application process, the communication, the document request, that's pretty intense, is my understanding.
Yeah, so FEMA obviously is a source of some frustration. I'm very sympathetic to the frustration that people feel about it. I have a love-hate relationship with FEMA. I do firmly believe that most of the people who work for FEMA, their hearts are in the right place. They are constrained by federal regulations. They are tasked with rooting out fraud. I think fraud is very, very uncommon. So it is very frustrating for somebody just trying to get back on their feet to be accused of not really living at the house that they were living at, and they maybe escaped in a deadly situation, and then somebody's telling them, I don't even believe that you lived there. There's a real kind of denial of reality and an insult to injury kind of thing that people have gone through. And I know, particularly at the beginning, the aftermath of the storm sat with a lot of people who were just in tears, and they just wanted to tell their story, and they felt like they had been put through the ringer in the aftermath after going through a catastrophic situation. So I want to always acknowledge at the beginning that those are completely legitimate feelings and frustrations that people have. Having said that, FEMA it's both a good and a bad thing. FEMA has a degree of flexibility. So the rules are really opaque. Like, what do I need to prove home repair, this kind of thing? It frustrates people because you can't just Google it. Right. It's not going to show up. Right. And so they're thinking, why is my application stuck? Why aren't I getting whatever the assistance that they applied for? The upside of the flexibility is that the idea behind it is that they can respond differently to different catastrophes. Okay. That there's the wildfires in California were equally catastrophic, but they were different. Right. And they impacted the population different. Okay. The geography is different. The loss of power and water, obviously very different here, right. So that everybody was affected, at least to a certain degree. Right. And closing schools and all of that kind of.
Yeah, like 2 months here.
So what that puts your average person who's trying to go to work and put food on the table and raise their kids in a hard situation, because they don't have the time to figure out why is my application stuck. Right. They don't know how to start, but they don't have the time. Right. It's not. I deal with very few people who are incapable of doing these things. It's not exactly rocket science, but I do it for a living. Right. So I go to work in the morning and I have 9 hours to dig into it. Yeah. People don't have that time.
That's right.
And
I appreciate you making that point, because you're exactly right. Sometimes it's just sitting there for an hour waiting. Mm-hmm. Trying to get through, trying to ask the question.
Exactly. And having the time to, if you have somebody unhelpful on the phone, hang up and dial the number again. Because it goes to somebody else. Right?
You hang up on people?
Yeah, because if you have an agent that isn't going to be helpful, why waste their time or yours?
I love you even more now. I love you even more.
And we said that to people at the very beginning. But again, if you're trying to raise 3 kids, you don't have time to hang up. But you finally get through to a FEMA agent, you're not going to hang up and call back. Right. But I can do it at my desk while I'm sending emails. Yeah. So even if I get put on hold, I'm not wasting time.
Right.
And that's what we've tried to encourage people from the very beginning, which is that it's doable. Now, it's not doable for everybody, right. To be clear. Some people are going to have claims rejected, and they have every right to be frustrated about it because there are kind of strict eligibility guidelines, and some people fall into kind of dead zones. Yes. And that's really unfair, and we have to try to find those folks other resources, right. Including you. But a lot of people that end up with in the aftermath of the storm, you had thousands of people across Western North Carolina applying for FEMA. Yes. Some people actually did get awards really quickly.
They did.
And some people got the maximum home repair award, which unfortunately is $42,500, so it's a lot lower than what people lost.
Right.
The people who end up getting stuck, the reason why we're really adamant about coming to us and trying to get some help is that we're seeing awards still. There's probably something weird in your file. It may be fixable, it may not be fixable, but you live here, addresses are weird. Mm-hmm. FEMA the federal workers in Maryland, and God bless them, and most of them are trying to get to the right answer.
Right.
But, when a numbered road got changed to a named road, that's glitching the system somehow. And we had someone out in McDowell County who was a pig farmer, and his father had passed away and had 2 small pig farms, and his sister lived on one and he lived on one, and for various family reasons they switched at some time.
Okay.
But the one that she was then living in is more accessible to the USPS. It's more, he can get everything there a lot easier. He never switched his mailing address. It's on his driver's license. He got his utility bill there because the USPS would deliver it there. He literally had no way of proving that he lived in the home. And of course, he never anticipated having to apply for FEMA assistance. So that seems like a completely reasonable thing to do.
Yes.
And happily, he ended up getting a letter from a McDowell County farm official, because they know where the pig farmers are. And FEMA accepted that. So it's navigating things like that I think people are getting kind of stuck. And like I said, you're from here. You know that those issues are much more common than they are in Florida.
Yes.
Someone lives on a back road somewhere, maybe doesn't even really have an address. We had a client who lives in Mars Hill, basically, but had a Weaverville address.
So they're right there.
They're right there, but they're 2 different counties.
Right.
So that's going to completely,
Yeah.
His address is in Buncombe County. His property is in Madison County.
Yes.
They're not going to get that.
No. And we actually have that. I have a couple of projects that is the exact same thing. Their address is Green Mountain. Their county is Bakersville or Mitchell.
Yeah.
Right on. You get the folks right on the line, and they have all the troubles.
Exactly.
Wow.
And I think there are a lot of people who are getting stuck for those kind of reasons.
Right.
And there are all kinds of reasons you could get stuck. Maybe, some of it is the most kind of prosaic kind of nonsense. Like, the estimate that you submitted didn't have a phone number for the contractor.
Because they call them.
They do call them.
Yes.
And that's a real problem also, because again, FEMA, they're not used to operating in this environment. Particularly up here, if contractors are on a site somewhere, there's a pretty decent chance they don't have cell service.
That's right.
Again, that's not really true on the East Coast of this state.
Right.
There's not as many kind of gaps in the cell service and that kind of thing. So
And here it's a big deal.
yeah, and FEMA has been open about the fact that they face challenges here that they had never anticipated. And that's not really their fault, because who expected a hurricane?
Right.
Here? And roads and bridges is another big one.
Yes.
They really had not set up a system to prepare for such widespread private road and bridge damage. So again, you might have that here and there in the East. It's more likely to be in an association, though, where they actually have a contract that would kind of put the association president in charge of that kind of thing. Here you'll have 40 people on a road who some of them hate each other, some of them
Are related.
and some of them wouldn't want to apply to FEMA under any circumstances because they're skeptical of it, and some of them are elderly and don't want to do. And FEMA system is all 44 of you apply and then split the money, which they know is a bad system now, and they've tried to change it.
That's awesome. So they're acknowledging this is where we have failed Western North Carolina.
They're acknowledging that their system was particularly difficult to navigate for the types of things that we see here, and that's the point that I was kind of slowly getting to, which is that we can, over the course of the past week, my colleagues and I have seen, I don't know, I should have counted before I came, but 5 or 6 awards. And most of those are because a colleague of mine emailed somebody at FEMA and said, hey, can you tell me what's going on in that file? And to be clear, it doesn't always work.
Right.
Sometimes the response is a hard thing to get past, but sometimes the response is, I don't really know why this fell off the radar.
Let's look into it.
Yeah, let's look into it. And sometimes the response is you're missing one document.
Yeah.
And so then we can try to get the document. And so that's why it is completely understandable that people have had it up to here at this point. It's been 11 months. And one of the things that I've said over and over in the past 11 months is, you don't really focus when you watch natural disasters on CNN. You know, we all sat there and watched what happened in Katrina, and it was devastating and awful. And it seems like it's happening to everybody. But one of the things that's so difficult is how random a natural disaster is. So I live in Nashville. Some people close to me lost their entire home. I was fine. But there's a massive tree on my front yard. If it had fallen over, my home would have been destroyed.
Right.
It didn't. So, fine. But then a mile away, somebody's home is in the Swananoa River. And the same thing up here, obviously. We're all affected to a certain degree. But some of us were like, it was a bummer that we didn't have water for 5 weeks. But then we're back on our feet. And we're back to, pretty close to normal lives, and other people are 11 months later with no end in sight. And so being really frustrated by that, recognizing how unfair it is, recognizing that the system hasn't worked perfectly is 100% reasonable. It's also, we really don't want people to give up.
No, we do not.
That's why we want people to come to you, come to us, depending on what the issue is. And we can all work together to try to get people as close to whole as possible.
Exactly. And that's one thing I've been telling a lot of my projects lately, especially some of the later ones that come in. We've gotten in the habit of saying, have you applied for FEMA benefits? Because there is a significant amount of money that could be available. And the reality is we are so small. I am so small. I will do anything in the world for my community, but I only have so many pennies, And so if I can figure out a way to get them their money that they are owed, I believe they're owed it. Let's get them to you. You start fighting for them. Next thing they know, they have the money and they can get going. They still may need my help. I'll still help, but that way we can get them the funding that is owed to them.
And then expand your capacity to help even more.
Right. Exactly.
If you can cut down, this person needs 72 grand, but we cut it down to 30.
Exactly.
Then that's 42 for someone else. And that's, basically our theory too. Yeah. Somebody who's been seriously affected by the storm should never care what source they get it from. Right. And it's our job to try to pull from the available sources.
Every way possible. And I'm so glad you brought up Renew and See. So they will be part of our event next Thursday, September the 4th. And they will actually be our next special feature podcast as well. So I'm very excited about that program to help people get the construction money that they need to rebuild as well.
Yeah, so I will give a little bit of a plug for Renew and See with the caveat that it really got up and running in a big way recent.
Yes, very recent.
But I am somewhat optimistic, and knock on wood, because I've been disappointed before.
I've been so disappointed so many times, but I'm trying. I'm trying.
The impression that I get, having talked to them at events, but also having a couple of case managers for clients of ours, is that they're motivated to get this done.
Well, and they've already approved one.
Yeah.
They've got one started, and it was a single line, and they're rebuilding them stick built.
Yeah, so that's if you have an older manufactured home, you may very well qualify for replacement, either manufactured home or stick built. But the other thing that I've been encouraged about with them is the way the case managers are pushing the case forward.
Yes.
Instead of kind of acting as a gatekeeper and a box ticker. And I'll give you an example for your audience, because I think it's kind of critical to realize. If you go into the application, let's say you try to do it online, the list of documents that you need will potentially look really intimidating.
It's very overwhelming at first.
Right, and they need some form of proof of citizenship, which is why I brought up the birth certificate. For a lot of folks who haven't gotten the new real ID, that's kind of the best one. If you don't have a passport, plenty of folks don't have. And so some of them are a little bit of a hurdle, but if you look at it, it kind of looks like it might be 40 documents. It probably isn't. And what I had a client just last week who I submitted an application for him on Thursday morning. I had a call at 9:30 on Friday morning from the assigned case manager, and he had done a property search, so had verified that the taxes were paid and those and that will be something that will look like you have to submit, but he had already done it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So he called and said, I need 3 documents. And I didn't know whether we were going to need 10 or 12 but 3 is great.
Yeah.
And it's doable at that point. And so I don't want people to look at that application and feel overwhelmed and think, oh, I don't have that. The other thing, we just talked about document replacement. You may have lost stuff, and some of it is replaceable, but maybe some isn't replaceable. And I would just encourage people to work with them, because Renew NC, in theory, and I want to emphasize that it's a theory because it hasn't.
It's brand new.
Right, it's brand new. In theory, it can get folks as close to whole as any of these things can, because they will send folks to your home to assess damage and aren't supposed to be strict. There's a safety issue that wasn't related to Helene. As long as there was a Helene issue, they have authority to repair that. And so that may be the best path for people who can qualify. So I would definitely push. I'm glad to hear they'll be on your podcast.
Yes, they'll be. Lee Brown will be here Thursday morning. We're having cake because it's my birthday.
Oh.
So sure, have cake.
2 days early.
Yes, we're having cake, and we'll celebrate again next Thursday. I mean, it's only a week later. The cake before, cake after. I love cake. But we'll be talking about that in depth so that people can really get a good understanding. But I'm glad you feel the way I do, because we have to give it a chance. We have to have help. We are 11 months in going, just squeezing turnips. That feels like, like every penny we can get, we're getting it, and it's never enough.
Yeah, and again, I'm sympathetic to people who roll their eyes and think they rolled out a program 9 months after the stuff. I mean, it seems.
Yeah.
It's
but how much money was it? It's going to be like what, $8 billion or something crazy?
It's a lot of money. I don't know exactly what it is, but
it's a lot of money.
They are supposed to fill the slots.
Yeah. And they need the people. They want to do the work.
They seem, from my limited experience at this point, that they want to get these applications.
I love that you submitted an application. You're so awesome. So my project that had told me they told me that you were helping them, and I said, I love Max, and they started telling me how incredible you have been to them and moving their cases forward was so powerful, because I'm crazy about them. I'm crazy about everybody. I love all my projects, but for them, the pain they have walked through, the hard path they have been on, the constant kicks. I feel like they're constantly being kicked. And you being on their side has meant the world to them. And I just want you to know how thankful I am for that, and why I want people to know we have help available. You showed up and showed out and are still walking right with one of my projects, and they sleep better at night because they have you. And that means a lot to me.
Well, they're a good example of what I said before. I mean, they're fighters.
Yeah.
So, we can all fight together, but that's true of most people in Western North Carolina.
Yeah.
But
it's hard to ask for help. It's hard to say, I need an attorney. It's hard. All the things, especially for mountain folk, it's not easy to say, I can't do this, or I need help, or I don't understand, and I just want people to just put that aside. Don't think like that, because Max and his team, they are so kind. They're so gentle and kind. And also they hang up on people. Like, I love that. I want my attorney to hang up on people. Like, oh, you're not telling me what I want to hear. But it matters. It matters. You're making a difference in their lives. And that matters to me so much because they're one family of thousands and thousands, but they matter. And you take ownership of them just like I do. And so I'm so thankful to have you as a partner in this disaster that we're all walking through together, holding hands, going, "Stay with us, people, stay with us, don't give up,"
Yeah, well, I'll speak to the insurance thing.
Yes, that's our next one.
As an example, because look, they've been doing everything right. I mean, that's what's so frustrating to people is that the system is set up to make it difficult. And sometimes all a lawyer or a legal professional is doing is getting their emails responded to quicker.
Yeah.
Because average folks are doing the same thing, but people get a little bit nervous if they Google Pisgah Legal Services.
Yeah.
And see our executive director on TV and think, I don't much want to be. So it's really unfair.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said to a bunch of my colleagues, some of these insurance cases, I'm happy if the clients get something from it, but I almost walk away more irritated than I started. I had a client in Haywood County who didn't understand why he wasn't getting a $12,000 check. He didn't have catastrophic damage. He was one of the kind of middle ground lucky people. He had been calling for months, and he called into a hotline event that we had with Legal Aid and the North Carolina Bar Foundation, and we took him on as a client. And I made a couple of phone calls and sent a couple of emails, and there was one form that the adjuster hadn't sent him, that he just had to sign, and they issued the check. And just the unfairness of that irritates me to no end, because it's not like this guy did anything wrong.
Right.
He was trying to find out where his $12,000 check. Obviously, I haven't seen all the correspondence that he sent, but it's probably similar to mine. He probably sent it to the wrong email address, but it was still the company's email address, forwarded to the right person. Like, it's set up to create roadblocks for people. And your friends that you mentioned, the issue for them, and it's been very eye-opening, and not just to folks trying to navigate this, it's been very eye-opening to me and to our organization generally, that they have an insurance policy that's basic. It's a replacement cost policy for 200 something, and they lost their house and they got a check for 111. Well, any normal person, including me, I had never practiced insurance law. I've never really made an homeowner's insurance claim, so I've never given it a lot of thought. Replacement cost policy seems like if you lose your whole house, isn't that what you should get?
Yeah.
Like that, there's no more I can lose.
Right.
Beyond everything.
Right.
So why was I paying premiums
on
this value if you're going to send me this value in the absolute worst case scenario?
Right.
So that's what they thought, because everybody would think that. But in fact, the way it works is the insurance company will tell you, okay, we'll give you this, which is, actual cash value. And then if you rebuild, you can get more if you keep going. But why should you have to rebuild? I mean, really, if you're a normal person, you would, no, I lost everything, give me the money. I can go to Vegas with it.
Yeah,
if I want. Like that's the premium that I paid for the most catastrophic thing that could happen that then did happen. So they have to rebuild, but they're in an Alice in Wonderland kind of situation where then the bank, because there's a lien on their house, of course, like most people, gets the check, the initial check, and so the bank says, you need to get more money from the insurance company before we release money to you for a rebuild. And the insurance company says, you need to rebuild before we give you more money. And so they're just sitting in there where they can't comply with item one because they're loggerheads, and it's not like the bank is talking to the insurance company. They're not trying to facilitate it.
Nope.
They're trying to make it difficult.
Yep.
And
because then the bank can get the property and the money.
Yeah.
If they stop, if they stop making their mortgage.
If they stop making,
Because they're still making the
Yeah.
mortgage payment.
So, and it's not like the bank has some kind of, if they didn't make it so hard, it's not like they're totally out to lunch. It is their security interest.
Yes.
So we all recognize that you're taking some risk here, and you do have the 111,000. I get why you're kind of protective of that.
Yeah.
But they were making it difficult, and these folks were doing everything they can
Yes.
on top of raising kids and going to work and trying to,
Do all the things.
they lost their house.
They lost everything.
And they're trying to say, like, hey, bank, here's what insurance company says. Hey, insurance company, here's what bank says. And they're getting kind of stiff-armed by both who don't much want to talk to them. And it's just, that's something that they were doing a great job of.
Right.
But they have much better things to do with their time. And so, again, that's why we want people to call us so that we can try to take some of
clear
that.
head. You are, I have seen your emotion and how much you care, which really impresses me. I'm very much appreciative of that, because I also get emotional. Some people don't like me at all because I'm intense, right? Like, I care very much, but we can, it's easier for you to manage the conversations and manage the communication without having a total come apart. Whereas they may be having a really bad day. It's pouring the rain. Here comes another storm. They have so much going on, and you've been able to manage it, and you're managing it successfully.
It's also 2 p.m. and they're supposed to be at work.
Right.
Again, it's my job.
Yeah.
It's my colleague's job.
Yeah.
So, sometimes we do get aggressive,
Yeah.
and sometimes but we're not trying to, they were juggling too many jobs.
Yes.
They're rebuilding a home.
Yes.
Their regular job, plus this job.
Paying a mortgage, paying rent, had to replace all their vehicles. I mean, it has been literally, like, to me, the worst of the worst, what they're going through. But to know how happy they are because you stepped in, because they were brave enough to say, help me. And you were brave enough to say, I got you. I got this. And you just walked them. It's just, they can breathe better at night, and they're sleeping better because of you. And I'm so thankful for that. I know you say it's just your job, but it means so much to have somebody that cares.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. But it's also just a perfect example of how we all have worked together.
Yes.
Because you haven't mentioned yet,
Yes.
with respect to them, that you also raised money.
Yeah.
Which is a big part of bridging the gap as the bank kind of stingily releases funds,
Yeah.
which they have started to do, but not as much as they should.
Right.
And so you're bridging another gap. And so it's their work, it's your work, it's our
your
work.
work, yeah.
And
it's all coming together. And this family's going to be home before winter. I already know it.
Yeah.
I can feel it in myself.
And that's why the main thing that I want to say to people is don't give up.
Don't give up.
That it's unfair that it's 11 months out.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you're at the end of the road.
That's right.
I had a client who I mostly just advised because she was a little bit easier situation than your friends. But she had called in January, I think, at loggerheads with the insurance company. And she basically just needed some advice on here's how you keep pressing the issue. And we kept in contact, and I would call her every few weeks to make sure if things were progressing and she hadn't gotten the denial of some sort.
Right.
And she did it herself, because sometimes we think if you have the bandwidth to do it, sometimes it's a little bit easier. Lawyers change the dynamic.
Right.
That may be for the good, but sometimes it can create delays. And so it's kind of a case-by-case determination.
Right.
But she got her whole claim, and she's fixed her house in Spruce Pine, and she got to the end of the line, and they cut her the whole check. And she was in January, again, she was doing everything right, but she was worried that she wasn't.
Right.
Because she wasn't seeing a lot of progress. And so she's just a perfect example of don't give up. You
Right.
may be doing everything right. People should feel free to call us,
Yes.
even if they think they're doing everything right.
Because then they have guidance or someone to kind of say, yes, you're doing exactly right.
Yeah.
I'm here if you need me.
Exactly.
I
And
love
I
it.
run into people at clinics like that all the time because they haven't decided to apply for services because they think they're doing it right, but they see a clinic in the paper or hear it on the radio and they're like, why not stop by and just check in to see?
Yes.
And we want people to do that
Yes.
too. So, because it's so stressful. That's the thing that's so affecting about this storm, again, as one of the lucky ones. Not only did I not lose my house, I didn't then have to deal with all this horrible stress on the back end, which that's your reward for being one of the unlucky ones. Then you deal with FEMA and insurance companies, and you do that basically as a second job for the next 1 to 3 years.
Right.
And it's just really unfair, and I worry about people just getting so stressed that they want to give up, and I really don't want people to give up. It's not fair that it takes this long, but it is possible.
Yes. And they're not alone.
Right.
Because I'm in the same boat. Although we were trapped for 3 days, we cut our way out. My home was okay. My home was fine. And so I'm in the boat with you that our friends that have received catastrophic damage, they're not alone. We're not going to leave them alone. We care. We didn't have the damage that you had, but we understand, and we want to walk with you. We want you to know that we care, and we have fight in us for you. Crazy fight.
Yeah, and I mean, all of us in this area share a crazy experience that we went through, and it's, in our service area of 18 counties, there are a little fewer than 1 million people. It's not a populous place. It's a pretty sparsely populated area, and everybody went through a crazy time. And I think a lot of us, partially because of it being not the most populous area in the country, you see what your neighbors are going through in a very obvious sort of way. You can't really look away from it. I saw so many people after the storm who did have home damage who were basically saying they didn't because they saw other people had it worse.
Right. Everybody say, oh, surely there's somebody worse than me that needs it. Just give it to them. I mean, that is literally the mantra of mountain people.
Yeah.
There's somebody that needs it worse than I do. And we care about them too. We care about everybody, but we want everyone to be whole again. We want to rebuild our community in a way that we are sustainable, that we don't lose our tax revenue, that we don't lose our property, that we don't have to give up and walk away. We don't want anybody to do that.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And I just, I don't want people who think, oh, it was only $6,000 damage to my roof. Call us for a FEMA appeal on that also.
Yes.
This doesn't have to be
huge.
What
about retaining walls? Like the back of like a foundation, or not a foundation, but so you've got a house and then you've got the mountain and they have a retaining wall here. Can they get money for that if it's coming in?
So I'm very glad you raised that, because that's been unclear for a while. When we were first doing clinics, so we had massive clinics at the beginning, how everybody was just we were all kind of zombies.
Yeah,
we didn't know what the heck had happened. And at a couple of clinics we had at a place called the Eddington Center, which is a Nashville Housing Authority complex in Buncombe, they were good about sending FEMA people to our events often, and we did not get encouraging answers about retaining walls, which we kind of lump as hazard mitigation issues. So nothing catastrophic has happened yet, but it will.
It absolutely will.
And they were not real encouraging about it. But I have a colleague, Kate, who you met. She was here at the clinic, who had a client in Haywood County, outside of Waynesville, and recently got a retaining wall award, and it was for 29 grand, I think.
Ooh.
Now, retaining walls are expensive.
They're
so-
very expensive, but that's incredible.
Yeah, so FEMA will unlikely give you
Keep pushing the
what
buttons. You got to keep fighting.
completely deserve,
Yes.
but 29 grand is obviously serious money. And so, yes, we don't see a lot of successful cases, but I was very encouraged by that because because yes, if you're about to have a landslide the next time we get a bad storm and it's getting worse and worse, this guy had a pretty great engineering report. So it may be a little bit of a higher standard, but we can try to navigate that with folks. It's definitely possible. We know it's possible because we know that it happened.
Right.
So
that's huge. Because we're starting to get a lot of that now. People are like, okay, I had a brand new project come in yesterday, and we're at 548 projects. That was the next one to walk in, and it was his retaining wall. And his retaining wall is destroyed, and everything's coming against the back of the house. And he had a $30,000 estimate to dig that out and build a wall, and it's intense. And I don't just have $30,000 for a retaining wall,
right,
and he's project 548, right? So it may take me a year to get to him. And how can I get him help? You know what I mean? How can I make sure that he's going the right way? Because his house is okay today, but the next heavy rain, more of that dirt slide down on it.
So the FEMA application status right now is a little bit unclear. If he applied for anything before, he can appeal for everything.
Okay.
To be clear.
Awesome.
I'm somewhat concerned from recent reports about people who still haven't applied for anything. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
You should call them sometime when you're making dinner, watching something on TV in case they put you on hold.
Yeah.
But explain how disrupted you were by the storm. Explain so that it was hard for you to apply for FEMA.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of folks up here didn't have internet forever, phone service. And you can also say that you were confused, you got bad information, that a retaining
Because people
wall
did,
wouldn't qualify. So I can't promise whether they will accept that application.
But you're willing to fight for it. I mean, you're willing. Somebody won it. Somebody has got retaining wall money.
Yeah, somebody has got retaining wall money. Anybody who has already applied for FEMA should call us and try to appeal for the retaining wall, even if they didn't mention the retaining wall. Because again, folks were filling out those applications in the couple of weeks after the storm.
Yes.
They didn't have any idea what the standard was.
Right.
One of the things that we see a lot is that people click no home damage, either because they didn't know or they were doing that kind of stoic, admirable thing, saying my neighbor has it worse, so I'm going to say no. Or the home damage was relatively minor, but they didn't know is excluding them from other assistance if they click no on the home damage. Or another thing that happened a lot is they were renters. So they click no because they didn't own the place.
Right.
But then the FEMA is putting you in a not affected box,
Right.
even though you may have lost your rental unit. You were just sitting there trying to be honest.
Right.
Be straightforward and not give the wrong impression about something. A lot of people were just being admirable, just trying to make sure they fill it out completely.
Because it's scary. You go after government money.
Mhm.
You can't mess up on that.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's great. We have been together. We have spent so much time together. We've already been together almost an hour. I'm so thankful for you.
Oh, really?
Can you believe it goes that fast?
Oh.
So we've talked about FEMA, we've talked about insurance, and we talked about NC Renew. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience today about the services that Pisgah Legal offers?
Yeah, so I will do that because obviously we've been around since 1978.
Yeah.
So a very small history has been Helene related issues.
Yes, you've been here a long time.
And we are very focused on housing stability. So evictions, tenant rights, those types of issues. But also something, when we talked about the waves of issue, this will overlap with Helene issues, but has always been a focus, is consumer issues, scams, contractor disputes, debt issues, being sued and getting a judgment against you. Those types of things are really important because there's nothing more stressful than debt and that type of thing. I do want to make a pitch for people who are rebuilding their house. Be very careful about who you hire. Don't give people, obviously, the great thing about your organization is nobody has to worry about it. And plenty of people are desperate to get repairs, and there's been a shortage of them.
Oh gosh, and people just run over their money.
Yeah, and so please make sure before you give anybody money, see if they're licensed. You have to be licensed if you do jobs for over 30 grand in North Carolina as a general contractor. Most people have an internet presence now. I'd be pretty wary if they don't. If they don't have a fixed address, if nobody's ever reviewed their business, if they've just kind of knocked on your door out of the blue. There was a lot of that right after the storm.
It's still happening too.
It's still
I got an email this week from a friend. The asphalt scam is here. So there's asphalt scammers actively in Yancey and Mitchell County. And what they do is they basically, it's the scam as old as time. Hey, we got a little bit of asphalt left over from this job. Would you like it? We'll give it to you. Then they screw up your driveway. Oh, well, you want us to fix that? Well, that's $10,000.
Yeah, right. So I would just be careful about it. In a perfect world, you'd pay somebody with a credit card also, because you can dispute those charges if they never show back up. You want to keep a written record of everything, so checks are better than cash, certainly. But just be careful about those issues, and if you do face those issues, you should call us about that. We certainly do domestic violence work for people in unsafe conditions. And the last thing that I really want to point out, because a lot of people don't know about it because of the name, Pisgah Legal Services, is we have a large non-legal side that does healthcare navigation, so finding insurance for folks on the marketplace, the Affordable Care Act marketplace, and government healthcare. And they do tax prep work too. So that is particularly valuable for historically folks who are eligible for the child tax credit, because a lot of people don't claim that. They don't know that it can be money in your pocket. And we're restricted on funding as to who we can serve in a lot of ways, but actually our non-legal side is higher. So I would really encourage people to call about that. And I happened to touch base. I wanted to track down a couple of our tax people this morning because of our conversation we were having. As I said at the very beginning, everything in flux for 11 months now, but there are disaster-related tax benefits that are potentially available to people. If your home was damaged, if your personal property was damaged, if your vehicles were damaged. So for this next tax year, as going to see what our capacity is for helping with that, it's always in flux. But people who have suffered that kind of damage ought to talk to a tax professional, even informally, to see if they might qualify for something like that. Because insurance companies drive me crazy, but nothing drives me more crazy than wealthy people getting all the tax breaks that they're entitled to, and less wealthy people not having any idea, and they're just trying to work their job, so they fill out their tax return and they leave $5,000 on the table that they could be spending on their kids.
Yeah, and that's a huge amount of money. That's huge money. Thank you.
So that's my pitch.
I love it. You're amazing. I'm so thankful you came today to talk with us for our special feature edition here on Rebuilding Hollers podcast, where we're doing it whatever it takes to make sure people know what has happened here in Western North Carolina, and making sure our community has the resources to rebuild and to fight FEMA, to fight insurance, all the things. Not fight them, just fight with them.
Yeah,
exactly. Hang up on them. That is like, you're getting a hashtag of that. Hashtag hang up Max. I love it. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking such good, wonderful care of my friends and my projects. And I look forward to working with you a lot. We're going to have a big time.
Me too.
We have a long ways to go.
It's just at the beginning,
Yes.
and thank you for having me, and it's amazing the work you're doing up here.
Thank you. We're very thankful to do it. Will you be here Thursday?
Week from Thursday?
Yes.
Yeah, September
So,
4th?
yes.
I'll be there.
September the 4th, y'all. Put it on your schedule. Be here at the Hollers. We're just below Shoal Creek Baptist. Come meet my friend Max. Talk with him just give him a brief synopsis. Get on his list so that you have somebody that will fight with you, for you, or answer any questions that you have. So before we go tonight, I just have a couple more reminders for you. We have the most amazing Jeep to raffle off. That is a 2017 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Sahara. It has a black leather interior. It's got a hardtop roof. You take that off and you are just cruising the mountains. We are selling raffle tickets for $100. All of that money is raising money for Rebuilding Hollers so I can keep getting my neighbors home, so I can keep buying building materials, and so I can keep paying our local contractors to rebuild our community. And I need your help to do that. So please visit us online, rebuildinghollers.org, or also come in the shop. You come check out the Jeep. It's here in the parking lot with a big red bow on it. So I thank y'all so much for joining us for this special feature podcast. We are going to keep doing whatever it takes to get you the information that you need so that you and your family are rebuilding and staying right where you're at. So we love y'all. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you later.
The hardest part isn't the knowing. It isn't knowing everything that you have to do to get everything back right. The hardest part are the memories. Knowing exactly how it used to look before the storm. That's the hardest part.